Welcome back to the Quiet Onset podcast powered by Cineman. I'm Ewan Gruff and I'm joined, as always, by Lachlan Teely.
Hello. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's good to be back after a 1 week hiatus. You've just been going to so many damn festivals, eh? You need to calm
Yeah,
down. Let me join at one point.
I would love to. Maybe we can arrange something at some point next year.
Yeah,
I think that's
hopefully.
in the cards.
Instead of just me sitting in a corner for 2 weeks, since you don't let me outside of your basement.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, he could have just tagged along for the Zurich Film Festival, but I
Yep.
mean, you had
Yeah,
to
you just don't let me out. Yeah, you just
rot
kept
away.
me
Yeah.
in the basement. That's a joke about you and keeping me in his basement, by the way. That's a throwback to I think the first 10 episodes of this podcast.
Oh, that
Anyway,
was
that
the
joke very
children in the
early on.
basement. I think that was
Oh
something because
yeah. Children
there
in the
were
basement.
noises
Oh,
around us. Yeah, it's a
yeah,
deep
much
cut.
more in taste. Yes, I like that.
Very tasteful.
Very tasteful jokes on this podcast.
Lachlan, tell us what's coming up in the show.
Well, this week we've got an absolutely packed episode. We've got our thoughts on the recently released HBO series The Last of Us trailer, along with the Halloween's Ends trailer and the They Cloned Tyrone trailer.
So many trailers to take a look at.
So many trailers.
I caught the Apple TV Plus release. It's out now. The greatest beer run ever from the Green Book director Peter Farrelly. And I also watched the miniseries over on Hulu on Mike Tyson called Mike. And Lachlan, you continued down on your binge of Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Yep, still on that binge. And other than that, you and I both caught up on 3 films this week, and we want to discuss those. The first one's going to be Blonde, the Marilyn Monroe film. Then you've also got Athena and Enter the Galactic.
Yeah, and the common theme between all 3 of those, all Netflix releases, and it's
All
really
Netflix.
stacked over on
Yep.
Netflix. So let's cue up the intro and get into the show.
We are
Obviously,
professional.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes.
Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there. Which actually,
Did you
this
get
is gonna
me a
be
hat
a
as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dooncam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
So yeah, welcome back, Lachlan. It's been a while. I also checked the last time we released episodes, and it feels like in 2 months we released 2 episodes. 2 of them
Yep.
were festival. We recorded some other episodes. I didn't even get around to editing it, so it will release after, although it was recorded before. Gets really complicated, but Lachlan, going forward in October, I think we got a bunch of stuff we'll be doing, so no shortage of
So much.
content anywhere in
So
sight.
much.
I mean, we really haven't caught up. Is there anything I should know? Having you let out of the basement finally.
What should I let you know? Well, I have a higher amount of caffeine in my body since I've now got a coffee machine in my house, like a proper manual coffee machine. And I'm
Right.
like any Australian going through their coffee phase where they want to make the best cup of coffee ever. So I'm
Mhm.
just constantly, it'd be like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm like, fuck, let's go make a coffee. It should be good. Other than that, you really haven't missed much, man. I've just been relaxing here, and obviously we've been away for a while, so I'd like to remind everybody that
Yeah.
I've got an excellent entertainment system. They're one of the highest end Sony TVs from about 2 years ago.
Really, you
A
do?
Sonos Arc, Dolby Atmos, Dolby
Mhm.
Vision enabled TV setup,
Right.
plus a PlayStation 5. So I just like to remind everybody that's
Yeah.
my environment that I'm working in. It's not a flex. I mean, you've got the flex that you've gone to some festivals for the past couple months.
Well,
so
I mean,
I just want to let people know that I'm watching movies in a great home setting, and I still go to the cinemas as well, of course.
it's also on a budget. I think for me it's been a quite expensive little hobby to go to so many festivals. Lucky that I'm on a break for the next at least 3 to 4 months when it comes to festivals. Because I don't think I mean, they don't tell you that, but it's even if you are pressed, it's still really expensive to do all of that stuff. So I mean,
Well, there's another
I
flex. Ewan's broke and I'm not. So what can I say,
Yes.
guys? It's just a good flex.
the power dynamic has to be back equalized, and hopefully that will do it. I don't know. I still feel bad that that you don't get to see some of these films, but the good thing about it is that a lot of them are getting a release quite soon, mainly in the
Sweet.
States though, but also usually
Not
in
sweet then.
Australia, not too late. I mean, sometimes it really is like that. We are not getting the new Spielberg film until March next year. And
Oh, really? Wow, geez.
yeah, but like little tidbit. In the German part of Switzerland, we like German speaking part. If you don't know, we have a couple different languages because we are an absolute mess. We are like adhering to, well, when it releases in Germany, we'll get the release after or at the same time. But the French part of Switzerland gets it when when it releases in France, and Italy when it releases in Italy. So the Fablemans is releasing way earlier in Italy. That means the one single country in the south of Switzerland is getting in November, I think. So I'll be riding down to that county just to go see the film. That's probably what will happen. Sometimes you gotta do weird things to see the films that you want to in time. But Lachlan, let's have a look at some news. And in particular, some quick news. We got a couple of news items here that we missed over the last few weeks. Probably the biggest one is that Hugh Jackman is returning, reprising his role as Wolverine in his last appearance in Logan. Apparently, not his last appearance. He'll be back in Deadpool 3 on September 6, 2024. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, a sequel to the Planet of the Apes series, is set to release in 2024 and has just begun its production. Armor Wars, a Marvel project, is no more a series, but a film now. Why? Good question. We don't know. And the director of Blade, Bassam Tariq, steps down from the film. And the shooting of the film was supposedly starting on this very day that we are recording today. So a bit of a pity for Marvel, who now is in a bit of a mess, seems like. Anyways, lastly, the Jeffrey Dahmer series on Netflix has been doing crazy numbers, and is now the second most watched TV show in English, in the English language. So yeah, it's been making crazy rounds on social media. It's been plopping up for me. I personally haven't seen the series and don't really have an interest to see it. Lachlan, out of those news items, Deadpool, right? Deadpool's the one to discuss.
Well, I didn't even want to discuss that. I don't really have anything to say about most of these because it pretty much went, wow, I'm not surprised that Ryan Reynolds was able to persuade one of his good mates to return, especially when one of the characters is just, like Deadpool's the character that just can bring anyone in for some reason.
Exactly, yeah.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, like I'm happy to watch another Planet of the Apes movies. I do find most of those quite exciting to watch, and I think it's a really good little series. I think doesn't get appreciated enough as like a modern.
Agreed.
I wouldn't say masterpiece, but very close to a modern like masterpiece when it comes to storytelling of a nice little series like that, and it's much better than the original. Armor Wars, whatever. It's just Marvel doing Marvel things. And Jeffrey Dahmer, I haven't actually seen it. I've heard a lot of positive things. I heard it's quite terrifying, but again, it's nothing that's up my alley. What I do want to tell you regarding Hugh Jackman and Logan, as we talked about that, did I ever tell you the time that I cried on the way home in my mum's car after seeing Logan?
No, you've never told me that.
Sick.
Okay.
All right, this is a quite
And now did you share it?
Exclusive. All right, so I went on a date to go see Logan with a chick that I was kind of interested in seeing, and I didn't want to embarrass myself, so I went and watched Logan, and obviously, when Logan, spoiler alert, everybody, Logan dies. Wolverine dies at the end of Logan.
Yeah.
And that's when, similar to how when Robert Downey Jr. dies in Endgame, that's when men cry, right? That's when men cry.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have. Everyone's seen Endgame. I'm gonna say, hey, spoiler alert for Logan. Fuck Endgame.
I think the MCU is out of spoiler territory. It's so in the mainstream that everyone who cares has seen it.
Watched the movie, all fine and dandy. Said goodbye. And at the time I was in high school, which is why I had to get my mum to pick me up and drive me on the way home. And I get into the car, and then I immediately start bawling my eyes out. My mum's like, what's going on? And I'm just like, Logan's dead. I'm so upset. And I had to call like my best mate. And like over the phone be like, man, the movie was so beautiful. Like me and my mate at the time were like just big movie nerds, and we went and saw everything together. But I had to go see this one on a date, and
Right.
yeah, I basically cried on the way home from watching Logan because of how emotionally distraught I was.
I love that.
Quiet on set
But
exclusive, everybody.
yeah, a bit of a sneak peek leak here. But like you said, I think with Deadpool, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter that that character has had a great closing chapter because it is so out of like the realm of continuity matters or whatever. We can't see Hugh Jackman return, and I think it's gonna be totally fine. But I don't know if I'm like at the state when the first Deadpool came out. I think there was at the heap of addressing the audience for fourth wall breaks, and it's been done so much now that I don't know if like I'm as receptive to it. But hopefully it's just be gonna be dumb fun entertainment. And then we got heaps of trailers to look at. We obviously won't go into discussion for all of them. There's just too much that we missed over the last 2 weeks. But The Last of Us, the HBO Max show, just got its first big old trailer with Pedro Pascal, Nick Offerman, and Bella Ramsey in the leading roles. I haven't played the games, Lachlan. I think you have, right?
Yes, like religiously.
Vibe check. Does it pass the vibe check for someone who's played the
It
games?
definitely passed the vibe check.
Yeah.
And obviously it showed a lot of it didn't have a lot of storytelling, but I think
Yeah.
most people are going to assume with the images shown, it's going to take a very similar story. It's going to take pretty much all the story beats from the main first game, Last of Us. I guess now references Last of Us Part 1, as they just
Yeah.
remastered it or remade it or whatever the hell you want to say, along with the original DLC in the game as well, which gave a bit of backstory to Ellie.
Yeah.
What was the I can't remember what the extension was called. First, this wasn't Grounded DLC. Oh no, now I'm really testing my knowledge here. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah. Fake fan.
But no, you saw some stills of like Ellie and Joel together.
Yeah.
You see a lot of obviously Bill, who's being played by Nick Offerman.
Mhm.
There's a lot of I just saw your spelling mistake of Pedro Pascal, by the way. I'm gonna call you out on that one. You're gonna edit me out. I don't care.
I wrote Predup Pascal.
Predup Pascal. No, yeah. It's very exciting to see because obviously it was created by the same dude who did Chernobyl, and I thought Chernobyl had this really good
Yeah.
atmosphere for it. And if anything, I hope this thing's gonna nail the atmosphere. My only fear is that
Mhm.
from the 2 seconds I saw of the clicker and try to break it down, it did look quite CG. I'm hoping it's not. I hope there's a bit of
Mhm.
practical effects to it as well, because there's
Right.
nothing worse than, the most important part. I mean, it wouldn't be the most important part. I would say the relationship between Joel and Ellie is going to be the most important part, and how Bella and
Mhm.
Pedro work with that, which I think they will do quite a good job. They both are very good actors and actresses in the roles that they've played in the past.
Mhm.
So no, yeah, passes the vibe check. I'm very excited for this. I think out of all the TV shows that I was hyped for this year, obviously currently 2 of the ones that we're trying to keep up with, and that's Lord of the Rings and House of Dragon. Both of those
Yeah.
shows have kind of fallen flat for me, and I haven't been keeping up to date with the past 2 weeks. So hopefully Last of Us will keep me engaged, even if I've already seen this story before.
Yeah, I think it doesn't have a release date until at some point in 2023, if I'm not
Gross.
mistaken. So it's gonna. I assume it's not gonna be like too far off. I could see it kind of starting a couple months after House of the Dragon has wrapped. And by the way, I think I just saw episode 7 and it really ramped back up. I'm so keen to see
Okay.
what how it will continue. But I'm also a sucker for I guess I also love Game of Thrones. Everyone loves Game of Thrones until it's the last few
Hmm.
seasons. But it is a bit different than that, but because it's not like as constrained in the time, but it also does jumps, so it feels a bit messy at times. But what they're setting up is super fun, at least to me. So I'll be on the weekly watch of House of the Dragon, and maybe we'll be able to do a recap if you catch up with it with of the series. I'd love to talk with you about that. But The Last of Us gonna get probably the same treatment. It looks super intriguing to me as well. And then I at the ZFF, I was lucky enough to catch Aftersun. I missed it in Cannes. It wasn't playing in Venice, so now I had to flex all the festivals I attended this year. And it's
Rub it in.
Behind Close, which is my favorite film in a couple of years from Luc Gaston. Aftersun with Paul Mescal, an incredible film. It's really probably my second or third favorite film of the year. I don't know where
Wow.
to place it, if it's in front or behind the Banshees of Inisherin, but I completely fell in love with this film. It's so subtle, and I love the trailer that we'll take a look at. This is not a review, but go see it whenever it releases for you. Probably gonna be all over the place because it is a smaller distributor. But this trailer, I think, really catches the vibe without telling you anything about what like it doesn't spoil, it doesn't ruin the experience of the film at all. So I think it's a great trailer as well. But yeah, what did you make of the I mean, now I'm overhyping it, of course, but to me it was a really great experience. But what did you make of the trailer?
Oh, the trailer kind of annoyed me with all the glitching stuff at the start and put a bad taste in my
Yeah.
mouth. And I thought the trailer was kind of shit. But anyway, look, no,
Damn.
it looked interesting. I guess the biggest thing going for it would be the relationship between the father and the daughter. Again, it looks like
Yeah.
a very cute film and very interesting way of telling it with the cinematography. It definitely feels very homey. Feels like very home
Yeah.
film like from the look of it, the colors, the style of the shots. Is that something that would be? Is that something that would happen in the film? Does it feel
Yeah,
like it's a
it's
home
very
video at some points?
it is, and it also is a recurring thing of using that and not using it, and it's really much just an observation of these
Sure.
characters. It's not like that overly dramatized. I think, like, for me, it's a 9 out of 10. For you, I think it would land somewhere between a 7 and a 8, if I had to guess. Like, that's kind of how I see it.
Sure.
Maybe that helps like listeners and viewers to guess like what my type of style of movie is, and then more Lachlan's. I think for a lot of people it will be like in that 7 to 8 range. I just really like the simplicity of it
Ewan
as
thinks
well.
I just love Marvel, and I don't.
Yeah,
He thinks
I
I'm just a
gotta. I
Marvel and
mean,
DC nerd. There's no superheroes in
yeah,
it, and it's made by someone outside of the already established MCU fame. I hate
yeah.
it. Quite frankly, I
To be
hate it.
fair, aren't women the real superheroes of real life? Anyways,
I'm not getting
Halloween
your point.
Kills.
What?
Halloween Kills.
Right.
Halloween
Oh, wait, your
Ends. Sorry,
segue
wrong one.
because of Jamie Lee Curtis and how right, okay. That was your segue?
It wasn't, but I didn't realize that
Man, we
Halloween
know
Ends
that
was
we've
the
been
next
away for
one.
like a week or 2 weeks because you are terrible at your segues.
Halloween Ends trailer. I thought it looked pretty shit, to be honest. To me,
It
that
was
was a
just a shitty
terrible
trailer.
trailer.
Look,
Right, it was a shitty trailer, right?
If both of the Halloween films can hit and they both be very good, I have high hopes for this third one. I'm really hoping they pull
Yeah.
it home. The last one was a bit of a stretch with Jamie Lee Curtis's character and
Yeah.
Mike, but no, I'll be interested to see what they do to wrap this up. And either way, I'm quite thankful for this reboot, as it is probably the best reboot of a classic 80s horror series. More recently, because fucking Texas Chainsaw
Right.
Massacre was terrible.
Yeah.
What else is? I mean, Scream was probably good, but it wasn't
That's
as
90s,
good as
yeah.
what I thought Halloween was with the reboot. So no, yeah, I'm excited to see how it ends.
Yeah. I mean, with Hellraiser now set to release later this week, I'm keen for that. I haven't seen the original, but that's
That
something
looked
that's coming to
incredible as
streaming.
well. Ooh, that looked insane.
Yeah, that's not on our list, but maybe it gets a quick shout out here. Hellraiser, go check that out. I'll try to fit that in as well as the original for next week, and then we got a bit of a horror themed episode. Then Then we got free trailers from Netflix to Netflix. You know, at the start of the year, they had that like showcase of this is all the stuff that's coming, and it was so much. And then for the last 4 months, I was like, where are the Netflix releases? There's not that many like big ones.
Because they all just came out last
They've
week.
saved it all. It's like yeah, since like the end of September, I think until the rest of the year, they just have so much stuff that they gotta get out before 2023. It's crazy how much
Yeah.
stuff goes on there. But one of the things that's coming to Netflix is they cloned Tyrone. I don't know if this is based on anything or if it's a original thing with Jamie Foxx, John Boyega, and Tinoa Paris. I don't know, looks like dumb fun, similar to I guess Jamie Foxx in Day Shift, you know, that like dumb fun type of thing, where they just are vibing off each other, playing off of each other, little action comedy. To me, I think it's a weird trend because I saw a couple of trailers that looked so shit. We're not gonna talk about them, but it's weird that recent trend of a comedy can't just be a comedy. It also needs like a bigger genre that gets more people easily into the seats, because
Yeah.
comedy doesn't get people into seats anymore. So we got Bullet Train, we got that movie with Brad Pitt and Sandra Bullock that I'm blanking on right now. It's like a lot of those comedies now are action comedies, way more in frequency than they used to be. I don't know. I mean, I like the trend. It's great for Lachlan as well because he likes the bang bang and then the funnies. But I mean,
Bang
there's
bang
also
and the
been a bunch of
funnies.
yeah, there's also been a few stinkers out there that weren't that great. But I didn't get a bad impression from They Clone Tyrone. Probably gonna be quite entertaining. What did you make of it, Lachlan?
Bang bang shoot shoot, sign me up. I had a cool style
Yeah.
going for it. I do enjoy a lot of the faces that I saw in the trailer, and yeah, no, it just had a really fun atmosphere and vibe to it. So yeah, I thought it had a better atmosphere and vibe than what Day Shift had, but I guess we'll
Right.
find out when it comes out. I'm really excited.
I mean, this came kind of out of nowhere. I haven't heard of it, and then just a trailer plopped up and big actors, and I was like, oh, okay, wow, crazy. But yeah, gonna be keen. Gonna be watching that, and then less bang bang and funnies. With Florence Pugh. In The Wonder. Looks like it was probably one of the bets that Netflix made of like, okay, maybe this goes in for a performance at the Oscars or whatever. Or I don't know, they just wanted to make a good film that's like a period piece. I can't really make much of it. I think it played recently at a festival, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it played at TIFF or is playing in New York over the next few days. But I haven't heard like great things about it. I haven't really heard anything about it, although it already came out. So, like, what did you make of it? Just having seen the trailer.
Look, I really enjoy Florence Pugh, so I hope it's going to be good.
Have you seen Don't Worry, Darling? No, wait. That's yeah. For you, it's not coming out until the next couple of weeks. Because like
Comes out
I'm
tomorrow.
so not caught up with you. Oh, it comes out tomorrow. I'm so not
I
caught up
actually
with
already
you that
have
I'm.
tickets booked to go see it.
Oh, you are seeing it. Okay.
I
Well,
am.
I don't want to force you into
Don't
a
worry.
review,
Don't
but
worry. I know you've given me the warning. You've given me the okay. Just to the listeners,
yeah,
here's what
right.
happens when your best mate sees every
Are
film
you gonna cry after Don't
2
Worry,
to
Darling?
4 months before you.
Right.
I don't know. Ewan, does someone die that I had no? Look, Ewan will. If I don't see a movie before Ewan, which is really, really rare, like it's once in a blue moon, but if there's a movie that I've like shown a little bit of excitement for, Ewan will prompt me because he doesn't want me to drive home and cry over the phone to him like Logan.
Yeah.
He'll be like, "Hey man, this movie, set your expectations to fail." You've already done that with Don't Worry, Darling. I've heard a mixed
Yeah.
bag.
I
I've
mean,
seen the
everyone
memes
has. If you've just
online,
been on, yeah.
and and you've given me the warning. I don't know because Tanika's also very excited to see it, and we're
Mhm.
gonna go watch it together. I don't know if she's seen the memes, but you know, I guess my feed is different to hers. Hers is more TikToky, and mine's more movie based. So I
Yeah.
guess we will see whether I should worry
Darling, it will be all right. No, but maybe if there's enough to talk about after you watch the film, I don't know what speaks against just a quick review. The two of us, 10 minutes, we just talk about a bit of a bonus thing because I think it's a fun movie to talk about. Or yeah, just after having seen it, there's about. I mean, have fun. That's all I say. But
I
yeah,
will try.
something that you've been quite in anticipation for is Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, which has now confirmed to get a 4-night release, releasing two episodes with each other each day, starting on October 25th, going for 4 days. Um, Interesting release strategy. I like it because it's not just dumping the whole thing on there, especially when it's
Yeah.
all like in different styles from different directors. I feel like it's still gonna get overshadowed because it still is a short period of time. But having that like at the end of October, it's a nice Halloween vibe. I'm digging this different release strategy. But I mean, it basically was that. I don't know if we got to see much more of, like, we can't really say, okay, I'm anticipating this one especially because in the trailer they're all cut up together, and I feel like as soon as we get to see them, we can have a bit more of an opinion. It's like, okay, well, this goes here, this goes there. But yeah, Lachlan, you still keen for Cabinet of Curiosities?
Yeah, I'm excited to see, as there's a number of really well-known filmmakers that are popping
Yeah.
up in this series. So there's nothing I love more than anthology series and what they can bring, because if you're watching a different episode of the same show
Right.
and it's a completely different ballpark, you don't know what to expect, and that's
Mhm.
exciting. It's why Black Mirror still, even though that the quality has gone down in what they're saying and what they're telling, it's still exciting to watch because you don't know what's going to happen. You watch the next episode of
Mhm.
House of Dragon or Lord of the Rings, you kind of know where the story's going to go. You kind of, I mean, maybe Game of Thrones not so much
Right.
because they could just kill anyone left, right, and center. But
Did you know they killed
for a
Ned
show,
Stark?
what? No, you can't say that. Okay. Well, I mean, we're just
Spoilers.
telling everyone who dies in movies and TV shows this episode, aren't we?
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I'm excited to see the episodes that come out with each filmmaker and what they're going to be doing. I'm trying to see if there's anything on IMDb. There's
Yeah.
nothing on IMDb that tells me anything. So even more curious.
It is a bit of a cabinet of curiosities that hasn't been opened yet, in a way.
Mm.
But yeah. Anyways, there's a couple of trailers that are getting a shout out. It's funny because I've seen like half of them of that list already.
It's a flex.
But yes. Woo. No, Tar is getting a limited release in the States right now as this episode is out. Hopefully it will release somewhere soon close to you as well. In Switzerland it's going to be February. That got another really solid trailer. Really matching the energy of the film as well. Already caught that one. Can give it a very warm recommendation. Same goes for Bones and All. Although I've been waiting for the novel that I ordered like over a month ago, a month and a half ago. I just never got it. I
You've
haven't
been
read the
scammed.
book. I've been a bit scammed because I like after the end of the film I was like, oh, I kind of want to read the ending of the book to see if I like it. But Bones and All from Luca Guadagnino with Timothée Chalamet, Taylor Russell also gets a recommendation from me. Something I haven't seen yet, Enola Holmes 2, November 4th over on Netflix. A bit of a I guess collab with Sherlock Holmes, played by Henry Cavill. They share the same case. Probably going to be a bit of the same, but they're changing it up because now she's pairing up with Sherlock in a way a bit. I don't know. Stars at Noon, a A24 film, Iconic Gun, that I thought was one of the worst films I saw at that festival. Can't really recommend that one. It's a bit of a miss. And then from the Squid Game actor, the lead, he's directing his own action film. Also caught that one in Cannes. Again, it's a crazy action mess. Certainly entertaining, and like, and there's a lot of bang bang. Not so funny, very serious, but like it compensates the ha-has with a lot of bang bang. And then, yeah, spoiler alert. Should have been the title of this episode. Releases on December 2nd with Jim Parson, the actor of Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, which I guess, yeah, he's gonna be Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory forever. I also can't really see him play anyone else. He has really a distinctive thing going with his voice and the way he talks. So I'm a bit not that receptive to spoiler alert. It feels like yeah, not really my thing. And then lastly, we can briefly, I guess, talk about this, but I don't think it didn't really add much. We got another trailer for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I guess the first trailer was more of a teaser. This is a full-on trailer where we get a bit more of the story, get to see a bit more of Namor, and I'm blanking on the name of the character, but one that's in the suit flying up. That's a
Ironheart?
character, Ironheart, I think. Oh yeah,
Man, I hate.
dude, we
no,
nailed it at the
I
same
didn't
time.
say that. I didn't say that. That's me being a slight
Right.
nerd. I retract my statement. It's not Ironheart. I have no idea who it is. I don't want to be the guy who's the MCU guy on this podcast. Ewan, you said Ironheart, didn't you? I'm not the MCU guy on this
on my
fucking
end, we
podcast.
said it at
I
the exact same
refuse.
time. On my
Yeah,
end, we said
yeah,
the exact
just the
same time,
delay.
which
Yeah,
means
the
there's a delay,
delay.
and you said it first. So
No, the delay is you.
it's upside down because you're in Australia,
I'm
so
not
it's
the
actually
MCU
me.
guy on this fucking podcast. I've refused. If you make me the MCU guy, I'm gonna quit.
Which actually, well, Lachlan, let's move on to what we've been watching because you apparently have been the Star Wars guy.
I'm the Star Wars guy, baby. Let's be watching Clone Wars.
Yeah, let's talk about Clone Wars. How's it been?
Okay, just quickly, I have literally got the last episode of season 6 to go before I get onto season 7, and
Yeah.
Yoda is popping off. I love this. The whole of season 6 is just a completely different ballpark, and these last 3 episodes
Right.
have been insane.
Yeah.
I just am lost for words of how, I don't know how they just decided to can this show just at the end of all of this. And yeah, as I said, the last episode, I'm very excited to get into season 7 because obviously Tales of the Jedi is coming out soon, and I want to be on a clear slate and ready to watch that. But I also want to watch all of the other stuff like House of Dragon and stuff before that. Other than that,
Right.
Ewan,
Yeah.
I did not put together the wicked tool that I have to show off 4Ks, but here is a 4K.
You watched Elvis, or did you just get
Elvis,
it? Have
baby.
you watched it
I
yet?
didn't log it. I have watched it. I haven't logged
Right.
it. And I'll tell you what,
Uh
it's alright. it's okay.
huh.
It's
Agreed.
okay.
I mean,
Alright.
Yeah.
I didn't log it because I didn't know what to rate it on Letterboxd. I was sitting there and I was like,
Yeah.
do I give it a 2? Do I give it a 3? Do I give it a 3.5? Do I give it a 2.5? Like, it sits in between all of it, and I don't know what it is, but I also went back and watched The Great Gatsby, another of Baz Luhrmann's films, and look, I'm not a big Baz Luhrmann guy. I'm just not a fan of the it's kind of like a sensory overload when you watch a Baz Luhrmann film. And I think for a lot of people, the magic of movies, Baz Luhrmann is perfect because it's a sensory overload of style and substance, and it really is. Like, Baz Luhrmann's an incredible director, and I'm not saying he's a bad director, but for me, it's just too much. Like, when I'm watching The Great Gatsby, like the first probably like 30 minutes to an hour, there's a lot of quick cutting, and it's just so quick, and it's so much to take in that you've got to watch the movie a bunch of times to kind of get everything out of it. But it's so iconic, and a lot of memes. Austin Butler does a good job. I'm not gonna lie, he does a good job. And do I think it's Oscar worthy? No, but did I think that Taron Egerton's performance of Elton John was Oscar worthy? I don't think so either. Do I think that Rami Malek's Bohemian Rhapsody performance was Oscar worthy? No, but at the same time, you know, I can definitely see him getting nominated for this because of who the performance is. So yeah, again, it's very Baz Luhrmann-y. You're gonna either love it or hate it. You're gonna either like, again, not Elton John. Who are we talking about? Elvis. Elvis's music is very iconic, and
Mm-hmm.
I do like it. I do enjoy his music, and he's an
Mm-hmm.
excellent performer. Like from the clips that I
Yeah.
have seen, I'm gonna sneeze 1 second. It's hay fever season, and I am literally dying. I've literally got an air purifier over here to clean my room of dust. Anyway.
Yeah, and it's been so dusty in my basement
Yeah.
as well. It's been really rough.
And again, the reason I wanted to bring up the fact that I watched Elvis, and I haven't logged it yet. I'll probably log it after this and give it a fucking score or something. Because I want to bring it back to the conversation around these movies about these larger than life people, which we're actually going to talk about one
Mhm.
today, the Marilyn Monroe movie. So
Yeah.
far, I think the best one has been Rocket Man, because it's the one where it's
Yeah.
mostly realistic, but it has this larger than life moments where he actually levitates when he's doing the piano thing, and
Mhm.
that's the great thing about it. Bohemian Rhapsody was a very grounded film, and as much as I like that, Freddie Mercury was a larger than life character. Elton John is a larger than life character, and the same with Elvis. He is a larger than life character, but the closest thing that I've seen to that performance being larger than life was Rocket Man. But I feel like
Mhm.
this film is the one that elevates the larger than life persona because of Baz Luhrmann's style. So again, do I think this film's great? I think it's okay. I think it's a good film, and I think it's a great enjoying, like a good way of wasting time. It's a long movie though. Like, how long
Yeah.
is this? 259. Yeah, it's oh, geez, that's almost 3 hours. Yeah, it's just a bit too long. Like, shorten it down, have a good moment, have a good time, play some good songs, and yeah.
How do you shorten down a
Uh,
Buzz Luhrmann film? It's already so quick cut
Uh,
already. Cut out
yeah,
Tom
you
Hanks
just
out of the
gotta,
movie.
yeah, cut out Tom Hanks. Oh yeah, and Tom Hanks is in this movie. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, I think tagging on to that, A24 with Sofia Coppola is also working on a film called Priscilla with Jacob Elordi. So that's gonna be interesting. Jacob Elordi to play Elvis, and someone I don't know, Kaylee Spaney. I don't know how to say her name. She's playing Priscilla. So I'm quite keen
Okay.
for that one because, like, obviously in the Elvis biopic, you don't go too much critical. Like, he's the protagonist.
Yeah.
So it doesn't like it I guess leaves out some of the weirder sides of him and basically shows him off this victim of being
It's a
just
very glorified Elvis.
which is like all of them in a way. That's why I agree with you. I think with Rocket Man, when you make it larger than life, it also absolves you of some criticism because you're more about the
Mhm.
iconicness and not just depicting someone's
Yeah.
life. I think that's a better approach. Like, yeah, better than they did in
Also,
Elvis
Rocket
and
Man's the
Bohemian
only one
Rhapsody.
so far where the person's still alive. Freddie Mercury and Elvis are both dead. So, you know,
What?
are you gonna
Yeah.
be able to get their well, not their opinion, but someone's opinion on the movie that's being made? I'm sure Elton John probably wouldn't want the movie to be shitting on him, and I'm sure that
Right.
whoever owns the right to give these people the ability to make these movies about Elton John, about Elvis, about Freddie Mercury, they're not gonna go, yeah, man. If you want to tell the honest story of Freddie Mercury being a bit of a dick, we're not gonna let you
Mhm.
do that. We want you to make a movie where
Yeah.
he's the greatest person alive. We want you to make a movie about Elvis where he's the greatest person alive. We don't want him to do, we don't want you to do any of the dark stuff. Just make a good movie about them. So that's the
Mhm.
unfortunate thing about people being dead or alive, is that the people who are alive probably don't want their image spat on, and the people who are dead, the people who are protecting that image, don't want their image spat on, because Elvis probably ships still to this day heaps of vinyls that people want to listen to, and I'm sure Queen does the
Yeah.
exact same thing. And if all of a sudden, you know, a big thing comes out where Elvis murdered a cat, I'm sure then
Uh,
he would stop selling.
yeah. Have you seen Yesterday?
Yes.
That's the where they take a different approach, but it's still about, like, I guess the
Still about
influence
the Beatles.
of the Beatles. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's like, I don't think the movie works overall. But it is a bit of like a more unique approach than just the classical
It's an
biopic, which is why I'm so
approach.
it's an interesting approach, which is why I'm so keen for more people to see Tar, because it also is not really biopicy. It's more like you get a slice of someone's life for a time period, and then it just like that's what you get. It doesn't really, it isn't really concerned with tie ending every single thing, and it's also not a real person. So I guess that makes it a bit easier.
Makes it a bit easier. You
again,
can spit
just
on their image.
yeah, exactly. I've been really busy with ZFF. We're recording this, and you're getting another episode in between. You get this one, so technically that one that was the last episode that you just watched, 109. We recorded like 2 weeks ago. But now although there's an episode in between, ZFF has just wrapped for me, and I think I have a list of like 60 films out of the 150 in the program that I've seen. So it was a busy festival, but mainly just because I also had the opportunity to see some films before. So our coverage really, we went over 75 films that I won't go over again, and I won't mention them here. If you want my thoughts, then check out that recap or my YouTube channel, where I'll take a look at some of them in a short review form. But something I watched in between was The Greatest Beer Run Ever from the director of The Green Book, the Oscar-winning Green Book. And I think a lot of people went in ready to hate this film, including myself, because I really didn't like Green Book and what it stands for. And it's, I guess, ultimately yet another old white dude who's making a movie about like, yo, Vietnam was kind of bad. But also, let's put a gullible character at the center of it with Zac Efron. That's based on true events of someone delivering beer to his buddies in Vietnam, and it's obviously coming in with the lightheartedness, but then like fish out of water, you realize this is actually serious. It plays it beat by beat how you'd expect it. Also, couldn't tell any of the characters apart because all of them just looked like they're from Brooklyn in the I guess in the 70s. And yeah, that's that. I think it wasn't as terrible as maybe some people make it out to be. I think it's like inoffensive and also doesn't have a shot at like picking up Oscars like Green Book did. So I think it's gonna hopefully it's gonna fly under the radar for like people who watch it, because it is now on that roster of Oscar nominated things. So over on Apple TV Plus, it's probably going to find its audience, and it's totally fine. Also watched Mike is a Hulu miniseries, I think with 8 episodes, all about half an hour long, going through the entire life of Mike Tyson. And this whole series feels like a misstep, just because it completely feels like surface level stuff where he's giving basically like a TED talk or whatever, some kind of talk, and it keeps cutting back to I guess what he's talking about, and that's kind of the narrative framework, but it goes over a lot of stuff so incredibly quickly that there was never any substance in it. It still tries to hit all like the points where he's also more controversial, but it's also told from him. I think it's just not really carefully assembled together, but it's just like kind of a mismatch, and it feels like a glorified slideshow of a peek behind the curtain of Mike Tyson. So yeah, can't really recommend Mike. But that's it for what we've been watching, and now we can get to our onslaught of Netflix reviews. And we'll kick it off with Andrew Dominik's Blonde that premiered over at Venice earlier this year. And the synopsis reads: from her volatile childhood as Norma Jean through her rise to stardom and romantic entanglements, this reimagined fictional portrait of Hollywood legend Marilyn Monroe blurs the lines of fact and fiction to explore the widening split between her public and private selves. Seems pretty ambitious just from the synopsis. Many maybe thought that, well, I think it's overly ambitious because it didn't really land for them. On Letterboxd, this film has received a 2.1, on IMDb a 5.6, and on Metacritic a 49. It comes in at a runtime of 2 hours and 46 minutes and is a Netflix production with an estimated budget of about 200 million and stars Ana de Armas and Adrian Brody. Now, Lachlan, without further ado, what did you make of Blonde?
Blonde is a 2 hour and 46-minute long epic showing of this era. That's what it is. It's a beautiful, honestly, a quite beautiful spectacle of the era that it's in. And
Yeah.
it is also beautiful in the, I guess, the artistic vision that they wanted to tell this film in. I think that there are a lot of transitions that are quite humorous and quite funny, especially the one where at a point someone's going to have sexual intercourse with Marilyn Monroe and it cuts to a giant waterfall. It is very humorous with that transition. There is a lot of very smart things that I think are in this film. And that's where I'll end the praise because honestly, it brought nothing else to the show. I was quite bored throughout the entire thing. It runs for way too fucking long. And in all honesty, why does this film exist? What story did they want to tell? Because whatever story they wanted to tell, we already knew.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is that fictional retelling. I mean, we were just talking about like grounded in life biopics, right? And what they are doing. And I think in this, I don't know exactly what the point was. Like, I don't know if that was your point, but I'd agree with you that it doesn't really end up saying anything or is like an like the pivotal recap of someone's life, and you would point to this film. It's like, oh yeah, here's more on Marilyn Monroe if you're curious. It just feels like it uses a lot of style with constant changes in the aspect ratio, the way it's shot, the color, then it's not colored. And I don't know if it's all supposed to reflect something in her, but it just comes off as very messy. But to me, you said you were bored. Even though this movie is very long, I weirdly wasn't bored at all with the film. It kind of kept me engaged. I don't think it worked in a lot of places, but maybe I was also too forgiving in things where it didn't really lead anywhere. But the rare occasion where I don't think I'm not thinking about, okay, this needs to add up to this and that and this and that. Like it needs to have this grand weaving story. I think the kind of little side bits were the most enjoyable ones that didn't really lead anywhere. I think the first bits with Chaplin and Eddie Robinson Jr., Chaplin's son and Eddie Robinson Jr., I think those were like, I don't know what exactly, why exactly they take that much of a focus in the film, but I mean, I didn't mind it, to be honest, and I don't
Maybe
know
it's
exactly why.
maybe it's because I'm the MCU guy in this fucking podcast, and there wasn't enough shoot,
Well,
bang, bang. But m- I guess my issue with it was the fact that there really was no overall arching plot line, and
other than daddy issues, I guess, right?
and that's not
That's
other
not the
than the
end.
daddy issues.
That's not
Like,
really plot.
and that's
Yeah.
something obviously that you could relate to, Ewan, with this film, and
Yeah.
it's just
Our
unfortunate.
husband.
Sorry, I couldn't keep going without like addressing that was a good one, and I got you there. No, look, okay. Well, first of all, we're going to talk about the quickly about the story, like how it overall plot. There's nothing there. Like, if you're going to tell a story, have a story. First of all, if you want to say something, because every film tries to say something. This film says nothing that we already did not know about the life of Marilyn Monroe. And
Yeah.
it's unfortunate that she starts in the same place and ends in the same place. There is no growth for her. And that's what is that's what I was hoping. We talk about obviously these grand, like larger than life characters earlier with all these biopics, and Marilyn Monroe had this persona, and she had this much and this very different like normal self, and they ended up merging together in a way. And I thought that was quite interesting in how she would become Marilyn Monroe. She's no longer Norma Jean, which I was hoping it would go into more. It doesn't really, and that's the unfortunate thing is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw
Agreed.
this,
Yeah.
and this film was obviously advertised as a biopic, and I thought this would be really exciting to see the ins and outs. And then obviously, it's not. It's based on a fictional story, and that's where I
Mhm.
started to, lose my interest in this film because I was hoping to see some sort of, and you do see a mental struggle with this character that she's known as, and it's not
Mhm.
her in any kind of way, and she's over sexualized and she's abused, and there's a lot of stuff in this film. It's a very I'm gonna say it's a very dark film. Very like
Mhm.
out of all of the films we're gonna talk about today, the three that we're talking about, two of them are very dark, but two of them are dark in very different for two different reasons. But
Yeah.
like it's hard to watch at times. It's obviously trying to say that in a way that at this time and even still to today, women in this industry are you know used and abused to get to these parts, and
Yeah.
men are pigs and animals, and this was a very toxic place back then, and I get that, but it doesn't do anything else than say that for 2 hours and 46 minutes. And
Yeah.
and I'm not going to say that, that's a bad thing because it is a bad thing what's done, but you cannot keep telling someone that's bad for 2.5 hours and then expect them to be like, yes, this film is excellent. It's telling a great story. It's telling a great
Yeah. Yeah.
message, because that message just ran home too many times.
Mhm. No, I agreed there because you can do a tragic tale like this one. While you said, I think the only thing that it needs, you can go through all of those terrible things, but then grow as a person. And like that part can be fictional or it cannot be fictional. It doesn't need to be a happy ending, but you just need like some sort of thing for Norma Jean to go through. But she's so passive in all of this, and it's more
Mm.
about like, why is Hollywood bad? And at the same time, this film can then be a critique of that whole system, which it kind of is in a way, but then it also wants to have the big moments where it is about like that, like really iconic moment with the skirt, and I think it stays on that there for a long time. And I think it wasn't. I think it tried to shoot it in a way where it felt like this is intrusive, this is over the top, or whatever. This is like weird, but the juxtaposition of, I think, having a quieter moment right before where it was actually about her being used, and then her going into that completely being used on the outside, being fine. There wasn't a point where the split between when's Norma Jean going and when Marilyn Monroe is coming out, and why is that happening for the character psychologically. That wasn't done carefully enough that I think it makes sense to have the story go for almost 3 hours. It really doesn't tell that much there. Yeah,
And if
I'd
you
say.
really want to see growth, give her some empowerment by the end. Don't let and I think at this point we should switch into spoilers. So spoiler
Yeah.
warning for anyone who's wanting to not
Spoilers.
hear spoilers for this film. If you want,
Yeah.
jump through.
Remain
We've got all
brunette.
the time codes in the
Don't
description.
get blind.
So spoiler, here we go. If you want to give her some empowerment by the end, don't have a scene with her yelling at the director and standing up for herself, and then also following it up with also being sexually assaulted by the president of the United States.
Yeah.
Don't have that. Let her stand up. Let her be strong for once. Let her grow as a character, because she's still constantly like, the only thing that breaks down is her mental strength,
Yeah.
her psyche, and
Yeah. Right.
it's never built back up. She's just always broken, and it's unfortunate that it ends in such a sad note. And I guess there is another side that you can go, yes, this film was never going to be a thing about saying that she had a great life, because she probably didn't. But in
Mhm.
saying that, though, this is the story that they wanted to tell. If they're going to keep doubling it down, like, again, tell us a bit more of a story. Let her grow more as a character. Don't let her grow in everyone's minds as this really out of this world character, and then still being used and abused. It's just, yeah, Blonde, I thought was going to tell something about Marilyn that we've really never seen before, but it's still just
Yeah.
a story about Marilyn Monroe. Just let her like legend die. Like she's,
hmm
you know, just let her. Don't use this image like this. And again, it's kind of like we're kind of speaking about this before. Why do they get to make a film about her being used and abused, and then they get to have all of these films about these dudes having this grand old life? That's the like all the other biopics we've
Yeah.
had. Like why is Marilyn Monroe's got to be super sad and depressing? Why can't it
Well,
be
I mean,
glorified
Bohemian
and-
Rhapsody was also about the drug abuse in a way, but it's definitely framed differently. I don't know if it is like
But it's so
a
surface
gendered
level though in
thing,
Bohemian Rhapsody.
but it is very surface level, and here it's the entire substance of it all is just caught up with that. I think that's a really interesting point that I don't have like an actual like thought out response to. It would be something
and
really
I've only
interesting
really
to look at,
I've only
because
just
thinking
thought about
back,
it, talking about it.
yeah, thinking back, there's a lot of that, but I guess it is just in a way the reality that you face under the scrutiny of being a female star, that you have to deal with men, and men have like just a generalized tendency to be creepier, to be more stalkers, to be more
Except
abusive,
Whitey.
to be more violent. Except who?
Whitey. Whitey. Is his name Whitey?
Righty.
The makeup artist in the film?
I don't I don't remember.
Because he's a
who he was.
homie. He stuck through Maryland through and through. He's a good dude. He's the only
Yeah,
good guy
yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
film.
Oh, not like, I don't think it's making the all men bad thing.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know, overly proportionately, if you're dealing with more people, a bigger audience, you're gonna have, you know, if it's that. I don't know if that makes sense, because like, yeah, I don't know, the obsession with female male adoration thing. I think it gets weird quickly. And I don't think this movie does a great job at depicting that though. Because it feels like, okay, we're going into this moment where she goes through this traumatic thing, and then it just keeps on going. And I mean, it's really hard to watch. It's really hard to watch, and at times it feels like it's going through the notions of making this artistic thing, and that's why it can be nuanced and bad things can be happening, and it's not like this story that you could tell with a Bohemian Rhapsody like film. But I think the ambition is here to do something good. It just doesn't really work. That's why I don't land negatively on this film. I think it's quite solid. I initially gave it a 7 out of 10. I think it will go down to a 6 probably now, having rewatched parts of it. I didn't have the time to spend another 3 hours rewatching the entire film. So it's been a while since I've seen the whole thing in one piece. But yeah, a bit underwhelming because we were both kind of anticipating. And at the end of the day, when we were watching the trailers, it turns out to be a bit more of what I expected it would be. That you know, it seemed like it would go deeper into the character, but ultimately didn't really, because it's still concerned with the image it gives out, certain iconic things that you still need to have in the film, and then that's just kind of a contradiction in the whole film, the whole narrative. But other than that, I think one more thing I should briefly mention. I think the performance from Ana de Armas is very solid. It's very great. I don't have anything bad to say about it. I think there was quite a bit of talk around that, basically just dumb stuff mainly, but I think she's solid. Not like Oscar performance level, but still very good for what this movie needed. I think she kind of provided it. Although I think it definitely was. I don't know if there's that much nudity as if it's someone else than Ana de Armas, because she seems to be someone who's very comfortable with nudity on screen and doesn't really mind it. But it was a it was a bit much, I'd say. I don't know how you felt about it, but it felt like I don't know if that's like makes sense for the Marilyn Monroe character. But yeah.
I'm glad you brought up performances, because that's the last thing I wanted to talk about. I had no issues with anyone's performance in this film Adrian Brody's Ama Diarmez, and I definitely thought Ama Diarmez, she was the biggest thing that was keeping me locked in with this film.
Yeah.
Which now that I say that, following you saying that she was topless for the majority of the movie, I can see how that sounds. I was captivated by her performance throughout the entire thing. Again, I do not believe that it's Oscar worthy. I definitely think it's Oscar baity in a way. I definitely think that the Netflix is going to try to go for a Oscar nom in this situation.
Right.
But no, yeah, I don't really have any, like, I've seen films with more nudity in it than this film, so my level of tolerance of nudity in film is probably very high.
Man, you're brave.
I've also realized it sounds like I'm just talking about porn.
I consume so much level of nudity in film, and I don't mind it at all.
Oh jeez. Oh god. Scrap that. That's bad. That's bad. But no, I think that there were just previous Ana Diarmez performances that I was more engaged with. But I definitely think that she did a spectacular job in this film. It's probably it probably is my favorite part of this film, is her performance as Marilyn Monroe. She did a great job, even if there were doubts from people when she first got cast as Marilyn. But anyway, my final number is a 2 out of 5. Lock it in.
Right. Yeah, I didn't leak it because he said it first, and then I said it with my fingers. I didn't even say the word, so you can't be mad. Don't go spiraling into a riot like in our next film that we're talking about today, Athena. In an isolated family mansion, a group of rich 20-somethings decides to play bodies. That's not the film.
Yeah, you left it. I can't believe you left it. And you were reading it like it was meant to be the right one.
No, I said, I noticed, as soon as I said mansion, I noticed that it was the other film, but I kept going because it was like, okay, well, no.
Oh, bro, I thought you were
funny.
going to change it. I saw you had left it as the bodies one from last week.
Yeah, I just copied.
I can't believe you got through that so far.
Check out the bodies episode. Anyways, hours after the tragic death of their youngest brother in unexplained circumstances, 3 siblings have their lives thrown into chaos. So that's Athena, the action-packed Netflix film, coming with a bunch of one-takes and crazy action from music video and film director Roman Gavras. I think he shot like music videos for Kanye West before, a bunch of other like bigger creators. Comes in at a runtime of 99 minutes, as I said, over on Netflix, and currently has a rating on Letterboxd of 3.4, on IMDb is 6.8, and on Metacritic is 72. So overall, quite a positive response to the film. Apparently the budget of this film was 41 million, but I couldn't really find a really notable, credit-worthy site to back that up, so it might be a really high estimate. I would have more guessed. I mean, it's crazy that like this cost double than Blonde, so I don't really think that's an accurate number. But it's just the one that I'm working with. I think it's more realistic if this movie is like 12 million or 15. That would already be on the high end. But you never know what Netflix is spending its money on for the rest of 2022. After that, they will probably make a bunch of cuts. I watched also a bunch of behind the scenes for this film, and it's crazy how they approach this because basically pretty much all you see, and apart from probably a bunch of bigger sequences with explosions and stuff, it's all done practically, and it's all done in like we're getting one shot a day type of thing, where you really just reset, go over and over through the notions, and don't really cut that much, which Lachlan, I want to get your opinion in. For a really action-packed film like this, do you think here, like, we can talk about that overall in action afterwards, but here in Athena, do you think it works to really build and hold that tension, even if it's even if it doesn't cut and we are shooting it in long takes?
In this situation, I believe so. I don't think it's
Yeah.
going to be fair to compare it to other one-take films such as 1917, as they are drastically different in story and they are drastically different in the style of one takes. And they're also drastically different when it comes to the relationship between the characters. But
Yeah.
in this situation, I believe that Athena does not prioritize the fact that it's a one take. It
Mhm.
prioritizes the story and the action and the emotion that's in that scene, and then
Mhm.
uses the one take to continue that emotion, because it doesn't cut away from that emotion and then it follows it to the next scene. And that's what
Yeah.
I think. That's how what I found with Athena, and it's probably one of my notes that I've
Mhm.
got written down here. That it's unlike other one take films. The one take doesn't take priority. This film, it doesn't do that. Its story, the family dynamic, their relationships with one another. That's what keeps you in, and the one take
Mhm.
then helps you stay with them in their fights, in their grief, etc. That's one of the notes that I have written down for this film.
It feels like inescapable, at least to me, that it just continues on. There's no real break. Like, you haven't you feel like you can't even breathe at times because it
Yeah.
really is that fast pace. There's so much going on. So I think I'm probably gonna link the behind the scenes in the show notes as well. But it was um it was just breathtaking to see how uh they went about directing this. That really a lot of stuff was dangerous for them to shoot as well. There was safety. There was obviously like people who were capable, but it still feels like it's a mess. It comes off as like a huge mess and chaotic on screen, because it also was a calculated chaotic mess to film. And for that, I think that the movie is really impressive. And I
Mm.
think it doesn't really set out much else, especially for like the first half of the film. We're not getting into spoilers just yet, but I think that the story, you said that it's like, I think it's more that's concerned about the plot but not the story. I don't think there's like if there's a difference between that. The plot just to move on with the film, but the story of those characters in the plot, they don't really work for me. I think they're kind of
Oh,
pulling it very thin on the believability, and just really wanting the tension high, that it
sure.
doesn't really make sense for me, like how committed some of the things are. But arguably, I mean, I'm not in that position, and I think mentally it's really hard to get in there, like be that angry and driven to just destruction. But maybe like the cycle of violence in a sense. I don't think that like that thing fully worked for me.
The initial setup of what's his name, Karim,
Kareem, yeah.
in obviously the opening
Molotov.
is quite dramatic, and
Yeah.
it does draw you in, and you kind of then follow them to their fort, and for me that is probably the most unbelievable part, is the fort they've got set up and all these people that they've got riled up for the death of his younger brother. And
Yeah.
obviously there's the mystery around it of who killed the little brother, and they're obviously accusing the police, and the police are retaliating. So I think that there's, for me, I do agree in a way that the plot between each beat is a bit weak, but for me it was the fact that it was brother against brother against brother, which
Yeah.
really locked me in for some reason. And I
Hmm.
guess it's what a lot of some of these films have missing in them. Like a lot of other one take films don't really have this emotional dynamic between characters. They're like, I guess in a
Yeah.
war film, in Australia we have the Anzacs, and one of the biggest thing about the Anzacs, which was the army here, was the mateship between them, that someone would die for one another. And you can have that in war
Yeah.
films. You definitely have that in war films, but in this one, it's the fact that you know there's four brothers essentially. There's a brother who is dead. There is a
Hmm.
brother who is starting a revolution. There is the other brother that's following orders, and then the other brother is a drug lord. Like that is
Yeah.
four very different characters with very different mentalities,
Mm.
besides one whose mentality's dead. But there's four different, very
Aha,
different
so me.
personalities at each other, at their
Hmm.
throats, and it's interesting that it's like you're with me or you're not with me. Like, are you in or you out?
Yeah.
And they're all doing completely different things. Now, you're
Mhm.
obviously talking about the cycle of violence doesn't work.
Yeah,
I think
I
that
think
the
for that
initial,
we'd
as I
have to
said,
go into spoilers if you want to talk about
let's
that.
jump
I
into
assume.
spoilers.
Or
I think that
right.
obviously talking about the cycle of violence doesn't work. As I said, the first initial one, the taking him back to the fort and meet like Karim walking around I guess the area. At first, I thought this is a bit of a like what's going on here, that he's just like telling people
Mhm.
orders for like 10 minutes, but it really sets up like people are rallied against the fact that the police the police in quotations have murdered his younger brother, and you've obviously got
Yeah.
the whole, people are angry, but they see him and they go, hey man, I'm really sorry for your loss. And you go, oh, okay. So
Yeah.
people are either super pissed off that this kid has died and they want to fight and they want to start a revolution about something, or they understand, or they either don't want to fight, but they still understand that he has lost a brother. And I felt like
Yeah.
there was this sense of community, this sense of a
Yeah.
family larger than your own bloodline in this group, and that's what really kept me in, that everyone knew each other. Everyone knew what was going on in each other's lives, and they all know each other and they want to be there for one another. And that was really
Yeah.
interesting, that this community is going against the police. And then especially at the end they've got this I guess this terrorist essentially that they were protecting.
Yeah.
and
Sebastian.
and
Yeah.
and Sebastian, and I thought that, like, why at first I thought he wasn't mentally there, that he was essentially like a small child in a child in a big man's body, because he was listening to music.
Yeah. Yeah.
He seemed to kind of have some sort of autistic tendencies, and that's what I thought was going on. And then all of a sudden it's, you help them out and it's just an immediate switch, and I was like, hang on a second, you work for the police slash army, but you are currently hiding a man who knows how to make a bomb in this kindergarten like center. Like, I was like
Yeah.
taken back by how the fact that all of these people again have very different lives. Drug lord,
Mhm.
the person starting revolution, man who follows the army, they're all brothers. Then you've got this one guy who's essentially a terrorist that they're hiding, but he is basically their family member. And then you've got all of these people who are rallying with them as one big family. And for me, that's what kept me engaged, was the family dynamic. Again, losing a brother, seeing that happen, then following on to what was his name? Abel's like his cycle of violence, then him losing
Yeah.
his cool and going against his own orders. And again, I felt the first initial cycle of violence, I was like, I don't get the I don't know why all these people are just suddenly going for violence. And then it came to me as like,
Right.
this is a community that wants that understands what has happened. It's a loss and they're really sorry, but it's either I'm going to fight for you or I'm going to leave. And
Yeah.
again, everyone respects the family and they understand that and everyone's grieving in a way, but
Mhm.
it's this cycle of violence. It depends how it's been impacted for you. He's lost again. Abel's lost one brother. He's then lost another one for, I guess, what he believes is the exact same reason of the police killing another brother, and
Yeah.
he saw that one with his own eyes. So I understand his cycle of violence. Maybe not
Yeah.
the first one.
Well, I mean, I didn't really understand why he unloaded, like why he went that far to kill his own older brother. To me, that was, I don't know if I just missed something.
I thought that due to the fact that he was never truly sorry for his younger brother's death, because I believe
Yeah.
from what when I was reading, obviously when you're reading subtitles, it's obviously you're reading it in your head, but you've also got to take in the vocal tone
Intonation.
of the actor at the same
Yeah.
time to see what's happening. For me, it was
Mhm.
the fact that the drug brother, forgive me, but I don't actually know any of their names off the top of my head, but I'm just going to
I
refer to
also
them as
don't.
what they are. The drug brother wasn't fully blood related. It had the same dad but a different mum. So he never really knew any of these boys, and he was just part of their family, and wasn't probably wasn't grieving at all. He was just trying to get his drugs out of this area.
Yeah.
That's what I believe the reason he just clicked, because at no point was he grieving for Karim's death. He was just,
Yeah.
hey, we've got to get rid of these guns. We've got to get out of here. We're going to get caught. I don't care about his. We don't have time to grieve. That was his snap. The fact that this guy is his last brother and he really doesn't care that the rest of his family's dead. He just wants to protect his
Yeah.
own ass.
So maybe it was like Kareem at this moment was a problem for him because the police kept closing in because they kept that guy. So he was more of a nuance, and now that he's dead, he's with the reasonable brother, and that brother realizes, oh shit, I actually got to do something, and this guy is actually just against me. But still, I think it's still a stretch that he just unleashes onto him. But I think it wants to make the point that the first people who get hurt the most are the ones closest to you that didn't do the direct damage. I think like that's why I meant the cycle of violence of like at the end of the day you got one brother left, 3 are dead. When yeah, you could have avoided maybe the 2, at least from the outgo that we had, if they just had worked together with each other a bit differently, which is also something frustrating to see. But to me, the first half of this movie, just the action, and him, people following him as you said, like this big family. I think that's what works for me. I think the second half loses me a bit, although I think it is a really interesting idea executed in a way that I don't know if it works for me. That Abdel switches, that he then goes against the police a bit more aggressively on a trip of revenge. I can't really make sense of what the point of this movie is, and I don't know if a movie like this, I think it wanted to make a point. I don't know if it needs a point because it can just be about the rage of uh police violence, but then also it wants to do that more nuanced, that like it's complicated. Maybe it wasn't the police, maybe there's like other institutions that then, or like other groups with other motivations that don't like maybe overlap with the police but don't like align, at least publicly. Then and then these two end up fighting, and who loses the most? Well, probably the people who just the normal people. uh like that's for me the overall thing, like the cycle of violence, and those who suffer the most are never the government institutions or the individual people who represent these institutions, but the normal people. And I think it didn't need to be that. It just could have been this ball of energy. It didn't completely work for me towards the end, but I think it was so great in the moments that I still think it's worth checking out. Like it's a recommendation from me.
I agree. You can read into this film if you like, but I do think that it's, if you just want to, again, if you don't want to watch a 2.5 hour film of Elvis or a 2.5 hour film of Marilyn Monroe, and you just want an hour and a half of entertainment, then and also good drama, I would say give
Yeah.
this film a watch. And out of all the films we're covering today, this is going to be my highest rated of a 4 out of
Yeah.
5.
Sweet. For me, it's a 3.5 out of 5. Something I forgot to mention is, again, you can see it in the behind the scenes, but the pyrotechnics in this film are absolutely crazy. Like, I don't know how they guided that stuff, but it's just going off constantly. So yeah, it feels like Memorial Day celebrations or whatever
A lot of
the
bang
occasion
bang
is.
shoot.
A
Lachlan
lot of
enjoy.
Lachlan does enjoy a lot of bang bang shoot. Yeah. Well, Intergalactic. I'm not reading the bodies synopsis for this one. Ambitious artist Jabari attempts to balance success and love when he moves into his dream Manhattan apartment and falls for his next door neighbor. So that's from first time director Fletcher Moles. A movie by Kid Cudi. But I guess he's not the director. He just accompanied an album alongside this film. That's also the soundtrack. for it. He stars in it as the lead and as a producer. And then we also got a really wide expanded cast of people that are very high profile for the parts that they actually end up playing. We'll get into that in a bit. It's been received quite positively, 3.8 on Letterboxd, 7.6 on IMDb, and 77 on Metacritic. So overall, quite positive, I'd say. It's the last of the 3 Netflix productions we're talking about today, and it comes in at 94 minutes. And look, and before we talk about the series turned into a TV streaming film over on Netflix, listening to the album, I've had a chance to listen about to the album about like twice through. Do you have any song that sticks out that you like the most?
Yeah, I've actually got 2 saved in my library. Actually, I'm just gonna load up my library so I know which ones I
Yeah.
am talking about. So the 2 that I added from the Intergalactic album was "In Love" and "Do What I
Hmm.
Want." I really enjoy "Do What I Want" out of both of those.
Yeah.
Um, those were the 2 songs that I've currently got saved. But as a shout out, there are a number. Again, we're a movie podcast, not a music podcast, but
Yeah.
sometimes we like to
We do
delve
enjoy
into
music.
the realm of other mediums. So if I
Hmm.
just quickly load up the album on here, there was a couple of songs that I really enjoyed. Also, the intergalactic theme, like the first song of the album, is just like a really
Really
like.
solid thing.
Oh
Yeah.
god, I'm playing
That
it on my
like it
speakers
really.
accidentally. On my Dolby Atmos enabled speakers. Sorry, that was an accident.
Oh god.
As this
Yeah.
film is Dolby Atmos in music, Apple Music. Sorry, that was a big flex.
Yeah, I think the whole thing works super well with like the whole Man of the Moon series that Kid Cudi has been doing for over like a decade now. And it just fits into that whole aesthetic. And it just continues on. I don't know where you would kind of place that in his discography overall, because it very much is a more like less rap heavy. I think it's more like the songs and tunes and whatever. I think that's a bigger focus, that it also works as a soundtrack. For me, I think In Love is also on there. I also enjoyed My Drug, which is a bit of a cheesier love song. And I think that what did you say? Which one's your favorite? Do What I Want. I think that's the most classical, like banger Cudi song that he puts out there. That's more of like a single. But in the show, sorry, in the film, not in the show, formerly show, now a film. She's Looking for Me is another one that I quite liked. More of them like towards the end for me, where it gets a bit more. I don't know, where like the love not triangle, but like the love stuff, it takes up a bigger part of the story. Did you have any other songs you wanted to shout out?
No, I'm just listening to a couple of songs now. Because
Yeah,
I
it's a
only listened to the
great.
album once, and it was me like in the car on a ride home. So I had like
Yeah.
a long car ride that I was listening to. So I didn't actually get to
Hmm.
save any until I got home. But I think
Yeah,
it was Ignite the Love as well.
it's not a good one. I think it is like a good soundtrack album because all of the songs really bleed nicely into each other and flow into each other. I mean, that's always something that Kid Cudi does very well with, like the storytelling in all of his albums. But here, I guess it's you can have something to attach to with what it was also made for with the series. And yeah, it's great album to put on and just chill to. I love it, but it doesn't really have like big like banger songs that are probably gonna be like the most iconic of
Hmm.
his entire discography. But I think they really fit with the theme of Man of the Moon and for this film. But what did you make of this film turned series? No, other
Uh,
way around.
I I would love the I would love every time an artist does an album that they want to tell a little story to, do something like this. Because I thought
Yeah,
it was just really, again, this film is not as uh, heavy as both Athena and Blonde. However,
yeah,
this was just so much fun just to chill out to and watch as uh, the story is easy to follow. It's nothing too deep. It's just a really
Mhm.
good little love story between two people, and I guess the weird world that we live in this current age and what dating is like at this current age. It's
Yeah.
just a really good, I guess, music video for this album because
Yeah.
it's like a long music video for this album.
It is, yeah, and I mean, I get why this was is initially a series because they do have those chapters, that kind of close off certain bits, and I think that they're like in the film, they don't really flow that nicely, from chapter to chapter. It feels like a bit of a jump, and especially I think in the first half of the film, it's more about, well, when do we get the needle drop of a new song and we do something to it. It doesn't really isn't really concerned with the story too much, which makes it a perfect companion piece to an album, like you said. And the animation as well. I really like the fashion style as well from the characters that are on screen, and then just the animation as well, which it was interesting. They worked with different frame rates at times for like how characters were walking, and it almost felt like it's stop motion at times, and then it's more fluid. They went in and out of that. I guess the easiest comparison to is Into the Spider Verse, that has like really had a similar style and also was using different frame rates for different characters and different moments. But yeah, man, I just had a good time. I was vibing to the film. Watched it with my little brother, who I made sit through all of the albums that I've enjoyed recently. It's like, no, listen to this one, listen to this one, and we just were sitting on the couch and just nodding our heads to the songs, and it was a lighthearted, like you said. It's not as dark as the other films we discussed today. Lighthearted watch about a guy who falls in love, who's a bit of a douche, I think, overall.
Bit
The
of a
way
dick.
he handles how he acts with his ex-girlfriend, which I also liked. He's not this like rom-com prince that's just perfect, but he has a bit of nuance. He feels like a bit more of a person, which is weird because it's an animated film, so it's very far removed from reality, but it still feels in a way grounded. And yeah, I had a really good time with Intergalactic.
No, I'd like to point out that this is stunning to watch. It's so well animated and visually is really just pleasing to watch. With any kind of animated, uh, or any kind of animation you watch, you gotta
Yeah,
understand whether this is going to set place in like a set reality, or if it's gonna have some kind of weirdness to it. And I do
yeah,
enjoy these ones that kind of blur the line that it's set in a realistic world, but it has these animated aspects to it that just make it spectacular and amazing. And I
hmm,
guess the example I like to give is Love Death Robots with all of their animation style. You have their
yeah,
super realistic ones that's always grounded in reality. Then you have their more, I guess, creative ones, which I guess you can see the animation and they have that
hmm,
animated flair to it, and it just elevates the story that little bit more. And I feel like the style
yeah.
to this elevates the story
Oh
uh,
yeah,
so much
definitely.
more. So no, I think that if you want to, hey, if you want to watch a film that's, I guess, you know, light-hearted, easy to watch, beautiful, and has a good soundtrack, then
Yeah.
uh, you should go watch. I was gonna say Elvis.
Bodies, bodies, bodies. We don't
Bodies,
know what we're
bodies, bodies.
talking about today.
You should watch Intergalactic.
Yeah,
Uh,
I really
it's
hope that
spectacular.
Kid Cudi continues to do this type of stuff because he obviously has the eye for it, the style for it, and I think from the talking heads that I've watched that Netflix has put out where people talked about it, it also feels like he's surrounded by really capable people that can nail that style, and I think it's also, we haven't talked about it yet, but the transitions are very showy,
Yeah.
and it just it just kind of makes sense for music to like it doesn't make sense for the story because it's just showy and it's like, ooh, that's a nice transition. And it's like, well, if you've been on TikTok, which you haven't, then it's like it's all about the transitions and people go crazy. It's like, oh, that's a smooth transition. That's like I feel like younger people are more primed to, if there's a good transition, that means good movie. And I think it also comes with an understanding of what younger people connect with. Like we are already old foxes when it comes to that, but I think he does that well as well. Like it shoots pretty wide for the reason of being authentic and having a lot of captivating imagery alongside great music. And what else do you want other than good music, good vibes, and good visuals? That's what we stand for here in the Quiet on Set podcast. So Intergalactic is just
MCU movies.
really good time. MCU? No. Well, I think we're gonna make you into actually I think you pivot more towards Star Wars, and I'm gonna
Yep.
steal that away from you because I've been praising Andor for a bit now.
Don't take
And
the only thing I have going for me. Don't you dare.
I won't watch the Clone Wars. I won't watch the Clone Wars.
No,
I'll
you
leave
should.
that
It's
to
really
you.
good. Like seriously, you should watch it.
I was thinking about it.
But don't make it
for
your
that.
thing.
What's
Watch it and then be like, yeah, man, it's good. But just don't make it your thing.
Right. I think there's no worries that I'll make it my thing. But anyways, Lachlan, what's your rating? I gotta get this done so I can go watch the new episode of Andor.
I gave Intergalactic a 3 out of 5.
Oh, surprising. Okay. I would have thought you skewed you skew a bit higher than that, but interesting. For me, it's a 3.5 out of 5. It's also, I think, the perfect film to put on in the background, and it's not like telling about what is on screen, but it's just like whenever you look over, it's something pretty to look at. And we completely glanced over the cast, by the way, that we didn't mention. But it's crazy that like Timothée Chalamet is in this, Ty Dolla $ign, Vanessa Hudgens, Christopher Abbott, Jaden Smith. There's a lot of Macaulay Culkin, and they sometimes, like, Christopher Abbott just has a quick little cameo where he's in like 3 scenes. He has a couple of lines. But yeah, interesting casting choices there, but certainly entertaining. And I didn't recognize all of them without the cast list. But that's it for this week with Intergalactic, with our Netflix extravaganza. We got a couple of releases. It's a crazy release, not just a crazy release week, not just on Netflix, but overall out in the US now and later this month in October in Switzerland and other places is Bros, Billy Eichner's gay, very gay studio comedy that was in the news for a bit, but mainly for the reason that it underperformed at the box office. I think there's a bit more nuance to that, but anyways, still make that number bigger. It's a really entertaining studio rom-com film. I really liked it. Caught it already, and I can give it my warm recommendations. And then out this week, by the time this episode releases, you can already go see Hellraiser over on Hulu. And then we got Amsterdam out in theaters that will release later at the start of November in Switzerland. And Lyle Crocodile with Sam Mendes. That's one of the big starts this week. It's about a singing crocodile, Lachlan. Maybe we should cover that one instead of Halloween Kills, but it will probably be as horror heavy for us to watch. And then over on Disney Plus, Werewolves by Night, the kind of TV streaming special 1-hour episode releases. I got an interview with the producer that I can link to right here. I caught it already, and I can say it's fairly decent. It's something different from the MCU that also isn't really concerned with the whole interconnectedness of it all. And then limited release over in the States, Tar and Triangle of Sadness. I looked it up for you, Lachlan. Tar comes to Australia on the 22nd of October, so you don't have to wait for that much longer. Triangle of Sadness, unfortunately, is going to be on the 26th of December. Then next Friday, October 14th, you gotta catch up, upcoming releases. Halloween Ends, which will also be our main topic for next week's episode. And then in theaters is Park Chan-wook's new film Decision to Leave, but the week after, I think on the 21st or by the end of October, it should be available virtually, and it is distributed by Mubi, so at some point it will be on Mubi, I assume. A movie that I can also give a warm recommendation to. And that's it with heaps of new releases this week. There's certainly no shortage of films to talk about. But Lachlan, what would you tell people to go see right now? What's your pick of the week?
Because of Athena, it gave me a memory of another international film regarding a semi-war, especially with very young children, and it's Monos. I very much enjoyed my time watching that many years ago. If you can get your hands on it, it's a very interesting watch. I don't know if I would say Monos is better than Athena in keeping you engaged with the story, but I will say Monos is a better visually stunning film. It's absolutely beautiful to watch. But Monos is also just, if you have a wicked Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos setup, then you should just go watch it on your favorite, biggest TV you possibly can.
Yeah, you're definitely not watching it in monos. You're watching it in stereo. 5.1, by the way.
That's a film. That's an audio joke in the film world. So funny, haha.
Yeah. Anyways, Halloween is coming up. Giving you the recommendation to catch up with the original from 1978. There's 2 more sequels in the timeline now that would be relevant before you go check out Halloween Ends, but it all starts with Halloween, the original. Great film. I think we've already talked about it at some point on the show before as well. If I manage to do that, I'll link it below as well. But go watch that, and next week Halloween is ending, so no more Halloween after that. Halloween, the last one. And that's it for this week. We'll be back next Monday. And in the meantime, you can go follow us on all of our socials. Lachlan and mine are linked below, as well as the link tree for everything Quiet on Set. We have a Letterboxd HQ. You can follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. There's so much to go follow. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel and leave a like. It helps a great way to get us a bit more into the algorithm and the episodes out there. So thanks so much for watching. And Lachlan, see you soon.
See you soon.